Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. I'm Carolyn Sears. I'm the Assistant Director of the Chesterfield County Public Library. Mike Mabe, Dr. Mabe, our director, was unable to be here this morning, so you have me instead, to my pleasure. Yay! Thank you. Yes. A warm welcome to you all. I'm so glad you all could come out. We have such a wonderful array of people here this morning to celebrate the life of Dr. Wyatt T. Walker. I wanted to say that it is the library's honor to host this tribute to him. He is such a figure in our history of importance and respect that the library is truly honored to host this.
Dr. Wyatt T. Walker was a legend, an iconic civil rights leader, and a man who lived to serve others. It's only fitting that a library where people come to learn, gather, and engage with fellow community members be named in his honor. Although there will never be another Wyatt T. Walker, we can all commit to carry on his legacy of hope, respect, kindness towards others. We look forward to the new Enon Library bearing Dr. Walker's name becoming a reality in the near future. Thank you again for being here to honor a man of great courage and faith. Dr. Casey.
Well, welcome everybody. This is the third straight day in a row that I've seen about 4 or 5 board members. It's been a great week in Chesterfield County. And again, before I go on about Dr. Walker and why we're here today, I'd be remiss because I hadn't done it the prior 2 days. But everything that it takes to set up these welcome events, groundbreakings, renamings, there's a crew behind the scenes. And this shows you the value of Chesterfield County. It's not just one person, one department. But there are people from General Services here, Fire EMS, Citizen Information and Resources, Parks and Recreation, Communications and Media, which is live streaming the event, by the way, and recording it. I know that Dr. Walker and the extended family and supporters of them have friends from New Jersey to Georgia, and I'm sure probably 48 other states as well. So, and then the host locations, Library for today, Community Enhancement was with us on Wednesday, and Fire with their depth of their staff for a groundbreaking in Matoaka for a fire station. Wednesday was, again, the Maggie Walker Land Trust at the old Ettrick Annex. So, again, I'd just be remiss if I didn't want to thank all these people because they have really put this together for us. I'll just start out with a simple quote from a simple person named Albert Einstein. He says, "There's only one thing you absolutely have to know, and that is the location of a library." This library right here is not the easiest place to find, by the way. But that's going to change. And Dr. Walker's name is going to help change that as well as a destination. What you see behind me in the future will be 6 times larger, 25,000 square feet. It won't be able to fit here, by the way, just for those that are worried about that for a moment, because we do need some parking somewhere else. But having said that, knowing what little I know about Dr. Walker and his extensive voracious reading habits and the books he collected from New York to Georgia to Richmond, I'm not sure 25,000 square feet is enough to house just even his collection of books. And that just shows you again how we need to learn from people like that. Every time I walk in a library, I walk out a little smarter, whether I've read something or whether I've heard something from someone. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to act. It teaches you to speak in the first person. I like to think that Dr. Walker was a person like that. My mother is always proud of her children. That's all mothers should be. I will tell you, I've been county administrator for 6 years, and I think I've done some decent things with the help of the Board of Supervisors, with the help of citizens. Today is my mom's proudest moment because she was actually an attendee on the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963. I was in utero, so I kind of act like I was there, but it's not going to count to some people, but it counts to me. But when I told her what we were doing for Dr. Walker, who she knew about, she's from New Jersey. He was raised there. I was raised in New Jersey. Actually came down to Richmond for an education. He did as well. you grow roots here, and he did as well, and he knew those roots when he came back. But my mom is like, wow, shake as many hands with people with the name Walker as possible today, and just tell them that she, and again, this is before the internet. It took a hard work to figure out what you could do to follow somebody and follow causes and missions. If you think about 1963, it's whatever was on the evening news or on a popular newspaper. It was hard to figure out the truth. She dug, and she went to things, and you had to hear those things in the first person. So she went to those events, and I'm sure she probably was in the same room, in the same spot as Dr. Walker. And I'll tell her, when I was born in a segregated hospital in Washington, D.C., she was livid. She got served a different meal that night than the person down the hall. She was livid. And you know, she beat that into me. Not physically, in case there's any child protective services, but she beat that into me. So with that said, I know there's a lot of good speakers who can speak more in the first person about what we're doing or reflect with some more research that they have done. So I don't want to hold up the show, but I just wanted to say my personal, this one is personal to me, and I'm glad you're all here. Thank you.
Join with me in your own way as I pray aloud together. Almighty and all-wise God, for the opportunity that you have gifted us with in this day, we say thank you. For the women and men who serve our local community, who came together in cooperation to collaborate on how to honor this community by honoring one of your gifted servants, Wyatt T. Walker Sr., we stand with grateful hearts. We invoke your name because your gifts are true and wise and creative, and so we celebrate this day where a building dedicated to creative expression, wise counsel, and community uplift will bear the name of one whose Renaissance life gave light to our world, aid to our needy, and empowerment to the justice side of our society. May this day mark a beginning for girls and boys seeking to improve their neighborhoods, their households, and their own lives. May women and men use this place and others like it in this county to enhance each other and exemplify the best of Earth's citizens. We pray this in the name of the one who is enlightenment and redemption. Amen.
I want to know who put me after Dr. Lyons. Can anyone think of a more suitable public space for Dr. Walker? Dr. Wyatt T. Walker was one of the most perceptive minds of the Christian nonviolent revolution and one of the most powerful voices of the American civil rights movement. Often regarded as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s right-hand man, Dr. Walker was an icon of humanity in his own right, and that is why we are here this morning. Wyatt T. Walker, a grandson of a former slave, was born on August 16, 1929, in the shoemaking town of Brockton, Massachusetts, the 10th of 11 children of the Reverend John Wise Walker and the former Maud Penn. His father had been a member of the first graduating class of Virginia Union University in 1899 and read both Greek and Hebrew. His mother was also a Union graduate, and books filled the family home. After graduating high school in 1946, he came south to Virginia Union carrying $100 that his parents had given him as tuition money to cover the first 2 semesters. Boy, things have gone up since then, haven't they? He went on to earn a bachelor's degree in both physics and chemistry in 1950, graduating with high honors. He received his Master's of Divinity degree from Union 3 years later, and then went on to earn his doctorate from Colgate Rochester Crozier Divinity School after the 2 schools had combined. Ordained in 1952, He preached for 7 years at the Gillfield Baptist Church, and it's so wonderful to have Gillfield here. Thank you, Dr. Lyons. Well, there he was, the pastor of the historic Gillfield Baptist Church, when on a cold day in 1960, Dr. Walker led a group of protesters through the whites-only entrance of the Petersburg Public Library, calmly walked to the library's counter, and asked for a biography of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. This would be the first of 17 of Dr. Walker's arrests, as he and Dr. King and the SCLC and CORE and the NAACP and so many others would go on to work tirelessly in front of the whole world to subpoena and then re-subpoena the conscience of our country to appear before the highest court on morality on the issue of civil rights, and specifically the evil system of segregation. In 1964, after serving as executive director of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference for 4 years, Dr. Walker left that role for work as a marketing specialist for the Negro Heritage Library, of which he became president in 1966. In that role, he carried out part of the library's mission of convincing schools to include the views and experiences of African Americans in their curriculum. He then, of course, later went on to advise the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture on their big exhibit. Dr. Walker was also a widely published author, most notably writing about black religious tradition, music, and social change. In 1982, he wrote a book about gospel and social change entitled Somebody's Calling My Name. Well, today we're calling the name of Dr. Wyatt T. Walker in gratitude and in perpetuity as we dedicate and name this future Enon Library after a man whose life and body of work honored all of humanity. Let all who enter this space come in the spirit of gratitude for this profound man, a great Chesterfield citizen who helped write the course of America's ship. I can't think of a more suitable space for Dr. Walker's name than atop this future library. Thank you.
What a beautiful day to honor our dear brother, Dr. Wyatt T. Walker, his wife, his children, and family. My name is Tyron Frazier, and I serve as the president of Rho Iota Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, seated right here in Chesterfield County, where Brother Walker was an active and engaged member. On behalf of my 200,000 plus brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated across the world, the close to 1,400 members throughout the state of Virginia, and the more than 85 brothers in Chesterfield, the Chesterfield chapter, we thank you for this opportunity to build upon the legacy of Brother Dr. Wyatt T. Walker and his family. I would now like to ask all of my brothers from Alpha Phi Alpha to please stand or wave to be recognized. Please remain standing. I will also ask all members of other Divine Nine organizations to please stand or wave to be visually recognized. Thank you. You may be seated. Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated develops leaders, promotes brotherhoods and academic excellence while providing service and advocacy for our communities. Alpha Phi Alpha is the first intercollegiate Greek lettered fraternity established for African American men, founded on December 4th, 1906 at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, by 7 college men who recognized the need for a strong bond of brotherhood among African descendants in this country. The fraternity initially focused as a study group and support group for minority students who face racial prejudice, both educationally and socially, at Cornell. Brother Wyatt T. Walker was initiated into the Gamma chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated on April the 7th, 1948, while attending Virginia Union University. The Gamma chapter, seated at Virginia Union, has produced great men since its founding on December 30th, 1907. Brother Walker, as extraordinary as he is one of many. In natural alpha fashion, Brother Walker stood ready to fight for the oppression of his people. The symbolic nature of his name being raised on this public library is an intentional reminder of one of his first moves to stand for civil rights for Black Americans in the late 1950s. His work continued with our brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Alpha Phi Alpha introduced me to Brother Walker while participating in our Brother's Keeper program. He shared much of his wisdom and knowledge throughout his years with us. The thing that I will never forget is the tone and his unwavering memory of the work that he did within our community. To Brother Walker's wife, children, and family, thank you for allowing my brothers to be a part of his legacy. A son, brother, husband, father, pastor, and an icon in our country. First of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all. Thank you.
Good morning on this beautiful day. My name is Cynthia Hudson. I bring you greetings from the Virginia State Conference of the NAACP. I am here at the request of our president, Robert Barnett, who unfortunately could not make it this morning. I have to say, though, that in all of the responsibilities that we have in the NAACP and the responsibilities and the work that I've had the opportunity to do as an immediate past Chief Deputy Attorney General of Virginia, the work that we've done that furthers the vision and the work started and pursued so diligently by Dr. Walker and others that he supported in this effort have been the greatest opportunities that I've had in my professional career. So it's with a deep and sincere pleasure that I am here today on this momentous occasion honoring Dr. Wyatt T. Walker, a true titan of the civil rights movement, on whose shoulders, among others, I and many of us have stood and been carried to the recognition of our humanity. Of course, Dr. Walker was a pioneering force and leader in the civil rights movement from a number of positions and platforms that have been described here this morning and that have contributed to an awe-inspiring civil rights resume, including as president of the Petersburg chapter of the NAACP, and in lockstep with the SCLC, with CORE, with SNCC, and other particularly pioneering groups in the civil rights movement, has set us on a path that has changed the world as we know it, and changed it, obviously, for the good. The honor bestowed upon Dr. Walker today by Chesterfield County is, of course, deserving. That is a gross understatement. But I note, too, how substantively appropriate and fitting is this honor, given Dr. Wyatt's important work leading a publishing entity, it's already been mentioned, as the Negro Heritage Library, which sought to increase the attention paid to Black history and the contributions of Black African Americans in school curricula. There are many who would say, as we stand here, and I'm among them, nearly 60 years later, that that goal has not been fully realized. But this honor that we recognize today is a bold and important step toward recognizing and maintaining focus on that need. If we are inspired by this honor today to know just who Dr. Walker was and just how much his work has meant to the cause of racial and social equity in the world, the nation, this state, and this region, if we're inspired to learn more about what he and others of his era and ilk have contributed to the collective American experience, we will all be grateful for it. And may we be so inspired. Again, on behalf of the Virginia State Conference of the NAACP, I thank you for the opportunity to be here and to share these thoughts with you as you recognize and honor Reverend Dr. Wyatt T. Walker in this incredibly meaningful and important way. and congratulations to his family on this honor.
Good morning, everyone. My name's William McGee, and I am the president of the Richmond chapter of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I come to you today following everybody with their brief remarks, feeling like I got to cut everything short because my life has been impacted by Reverend Wyatt T. Walker in so many different ways. Fortunately, I want to speak to the family and Patty and everyone else to say that I grew up on Dunlop Street in Petersburg, Virginia. My father's an Alpha. My mother went to Virginia Union with Reverend Wyatt T. Walker. And Patty and I used to play together as children. And I told her just recently she was the hula hoop queen of that time. But moving on from that, they moved to Atlanta. And we missed Patty because all of us thought she was our girlfriend. My mother, being a college professor, also eventually took a job in Atlanta, teaching at Morris Brown College. We moved to Atlanta. And here, I want you to know that when I speak to people, I talk about walking in the footsteps of giants. Wyatt T. Walker was one of those giants. And I had the privilege of walking in his footsteps and hearing him. But when we moved to Atlanta, I also had the privilege of going to school with Yolanda and Martin. So I went to school with Patty, I went to school with Yolanda, I went to school with Martin. And I got to hear Dr. King speak many times at Ebenezer. In reading history, I found out something. And Patty, this dawned on me. You might not remember, but we met once at the Georgia State Fair, probably 61, 62. It was in Atlanta. It was right down the street at the fairgrounds from a place called Funtown. I don't know if anybody knows the history and reading Dr. King's history about Funtown, but Yolanda asked her father, Daddy, why can't we go to Funtown? It's written in his letters. And he told her at that time, Yolanda, at this time, little black kids can't go to Funtown. And I thought about that, Patty. I said, look at the steps that we've made and all that we've accomplished. I'm here to thank you all for being the progeny and family members of a man who changed history. A lot of people don't. Reverend Wyatt T. Walker was in the background. When you look at all the pictures of our SCLC founders, you don't see as many pictures of Reverend Wyatt T. Walker because he was doing the work in the background. He was getting the job done. And a lot of people don't understand that. When I became president of SCLC, I actually wanted to change the chapter name to the Walker Harris chapter of the SCLC because of Reverend Wyatt T. Walker and Reverend Curtis Harris, who are both so profoundly important to the civil rights movement in this area. So on behalf of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and I want you to know that we're growing, the organization had almost faded away. And God put it on my heart to say, hey, look, you cannot let this die. You walked in the footsteps of giants, and you have to keep that legacy going. On behalf of the SCLC, we invite all of you all to join our Richmond chapter. We have a mission. As the saying goes, the struggle continues. God bless you all. God bless the effort of Chesterfield County. I am a resident of Chesterfield, and I thank you very much for all that's being done on behalf of a history person, a giant in the history, right here from my area, Reverend Wyatt T. Walker. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. All right, so now we're going to have a special presentation that's going to be led by Mr. Winslow. The entire Board of Supervisors, please come up. Dr. Casey, please come up. And the Walker family, please, if you are here, please come up and receive this special presentation.
Please, is it on? Oh, go ahead.
Is it on? If the, no, we're not on yet.
What do you want to say? I think it's up if you want to say something.
Okay. If any of the speakers who were with us today would also like to join us for the special presentation, I welcome you to come up and be a part of the presentation.
We are so pleased to make this dedication, and I'm just going to read it here. The Dr. Wyatt T. Walker Building. A new Enon library is planned for this community. The building will be named after Dr. Wyatt T. Walker, 1928-2018, a civil rights icon and longtime resident of Chester. Dr. Walker was a graduate of Virginia Union University and president of the Petersburg chapter of the NAACP. He served as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s chief of staff in the 1960s, was a freedom rider, and stood shoulder to shoulder with other noteworthy civil rights activists for more than 4 decades. And I believe when the new library is built, we will transport this to the new library. So it will be on display for every citizen who comes in that building to see. And I think we have lots of good things planned for that new library as well that will educate folks on the legacy of Dr. Walker. And we can't thank you all enough. In addition, we have a plaque for the family, which I will present to you and then read. Chesterfield County Board of Supervisors honors the legacy of Dr. Wyatt T. Walker and dedicates the Enon Library as the Dr. Wyatt T. Walker Building, October 21st, 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, can we get a round of applause, please? We hope you will hang it proudly.
Well, this has been a wonderful occasion, to say the least. On behalf of my Uncle P, that's how I know him, and my family members know him, his wife, Enon, asked that he thanks to all of the city officials and people who made this wonderful tribute possible. Here today are a few of my Uncle P's family, 2 of his children, Robert, his daughter Patty, his son Jay and Earl are in New York, could not attend. We have cousin Suzanne here, who's here with her mother-in-law, Miss Walker. And we have Crystal, a niece. And so, yeah, and I'm Dr. James Holly. So on behalf of our whole family, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you everyone. That is the end of our presentation. Thank you to everyone who spoke with beautiful words today. And again, this is a beautiful day and we're very honored.